Good evening, ladies. Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. It's a week from Thanksgiving. Starting to get really excited. Thanksgiving is my very favorite holiday. So we are actually headed out as a family to go looking for a turkey after I do this fight time. So not hunting, just to the store. So I'm not going to wait a very long time for people to get on, but I do have something that I'm really excited to share with you tonight. So I'll just give a couple of minutes to make sure one person gets on, make sure that I'm live in the right place, and then we'll get to it. So we had our Thanksgiving work lunch today. It was really nice. We got to share what we were thankful for about our coworkers, which was really nice to kind of get to see what people think of you and to get to give some love to the people that you work with. So it was a really fun exercise. So yeah. All right. Well, nobody's getting on, but I'm going to go ahead and just get started. I'm going to start by praying. Lord, I thank you for this time. I thank you for the ladies of the Fight Time group. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I thank you for the wisdom and the guidance that you give me, Lord. Without you, nothing is possible. And I thank you for the ways that you create solutions to the problems in our lives. And I just ask that you bless each and every lady that listens to this, all of our Fight Time ladies, and help them during this very busy time of year. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to tell you guys, and obviously nobody's live right now, but if you catch this on the replay, I'm going to tell you, just say hey in the comments and say that you watched it on the replay. So I'm going to tell you about something that happened at my house this last weekend. We have bought a home, and a lot of people know that we're renovating it. So there's like a lot of things going on and a lot of moving people from one room so that we can fix it into another room so we can fix it. And we've just been moving a lot. And, we finally got the kids kind of settled into their rooms, and they're kind of situated now who's sleeping where. And so in that, it has created some dysfunction in the way that things are going and are organized in the house. So basically the baby is in one room and the girls are in another room, but the way that things ended up, we had the girls' clothes, their dressers, and all of their hanging clothes were in the baby's room, and the baby's dresser was in a totally different room. We had two areas that were kind of like office desk areas and music areas, and there was kind of like musical instruments everywhere, and everything was kind of everywhere. So every single day it was not functioning properly. My home was not functioning the way that it should have been functioning. So every single day I was waking up and I was having to work around this dysfunction. I was having to make it work. And it made me start to think sometimes our walk with Jesus is kind of like that. Sometimes maybe that's how your life looks. Maybe every single day you're waking up and you're walking around and you're working around your dysfunction. You're working around the problems in your life. You're making it work at your job. You're making it work in your marriage. You're making it work in your mental health, because that's how you have survived this whole time, is you've had these problems and you've kind of learned just to deal with them and to work around them. And on the outside, you probably look fine. You probably are dealing with all of these things every single day, making it work every single day. And on the outside, you look perfectly presentable. You're leading a life that is seemingly functional, because in the same way, if you had come into my house a week ago and looked around, you wouldn't have been able to see the struggles that I was going through every day. You wouldn't have been able to see um, me sneaking into the baby's room in the morning, trying not to wake him up so I can get the girls' school clothes out of their dressers. That wouldn't have been obvious to you. It would have looked fine. Everything would have looked fine. You would never have been able to tell that I was struggling with this dysfunction in the organization of our things. So maybe you look fine on the outside. Maybe no one can tell that you're struggling every single day to make it work. Because every day I was fumbling through the dysfunction. It was aggravating me every day. It was rubbing me the wrong way every day. I was having to survive it every single day, just deal with it to get through the day because I wasn't able yet to put things back or put things where they should be. But if that is your life, if this is speaking to you at all, and you think like, yes, that is me, I am getting up every day and I am working around dysfunction in my marriage or dysfunction in my mental health or dysfunction in my relationships, dysfunction in my job, then I'm here to tell you today that is no more because it is time to make a mess. And what I mean by that is this. In order for me to heal or fix the dysfunction that had been created in my home by all of the renovations and all of the moving around, even though it looked from the outside to be just fine, we had to make a huge mess. We had to move things around. Let me go back a little bit. So some of the things in this process of us moving rooms around, I could do by myself. And so I did. There was some decluttering that I could do. There was the planning of it that I could do. But then at some point, I also needed to reach out because there were big things that needed to be moved around. So we started the process of moving the dressers around. Hi, Gloria. We started the process of moving the furniture. We had to declutter and reorganize a lot of things. We had to move big pieces of furniture from one room to another. We had to throw a lot of things away that were no longer serving us. And I worked together with this with my husband. So it was a big mess. This process of us moving these things around was a huge process and it was a big mess. And if you would have walked in the middle of us doing this, you would have been able to see like this is a huge mess and I don't see how you do anything in this environment. And in the same way, as you walk through working through your own dysfunction, it's going to look like a mess. It might even look like a mess on the outside. And it might look a whole lot worse for a while than it did before you started. But you know, and I know that during the process of me moving all my stuff around, yes, it looked more messy, but it was progress towards better function. I hope that this is coming across clearly. So if you would have walked in the middle of that process, you wouldn't have seen the end game. And the end game is better function. And even partway through that process, the better function was beginning, even though outwardly it maybe looked messier. So, what I'm saying is, as you walk through the process of working through the dysfunction in your life, it might not look beautiful. It might look messy. And for a while, it might look worse than where you started. But if you keep your eye on the prize and if you keep moving forward in the process, it will all start to come into function. I hope I'm getting that point across. I don't know if I am. So I want to give you some tips in this process. So, and I'm going to use my example. We identified that something wasn't working in our home. So you identify something that's not working. So we identified this dysfunction. And then the next step for us was to make a plan to deal with the dysfunction. And then we started to work on the plan. And like I said, there were some things that I could do on my own, and there were some things that I needed help with, the heavy lifting. And in some cases, if we're just going to use the analogy of a home, you might need a professional. You might need a professional organizer. And so if you get into that situation, I just want to tell you, get the professional. Call in somebody that can help you work through this dysfunction, but do not become discouraged in the mess. Because if in the middle of that move, I just started freaking out because everything was everywhere and it made me shut down, you know where I would be? I would be in a messy dysfunction. So I want to encourage you that as you work through these hard times in your life, that you just continue to make those steps forward, even when it doesn't look good. And then I also want to say, with that same thought, sometimes when you look at somebody and their life, it might look like a big fat mess to you, but you don't know what they're walking through. You don't know what kind of dysfunction they're decluttering. You don't know what big pieces of furniture in their life that they're moving around. You don't know where in that process they are. So, ladies, let us not judge when we see somebody who's looking messy in their life, because you don't know. It could be, they could be on their way to cleaning things up. It could be part of their process. So I want to give you an example that'll hopefully kind of bring this together for you. Let's say you meet a lovely couple, man and wife, and you start to get to know them. And on the outside, they seem like they've got it together. They're well dressed. They've got great kids. They've got great jobs. They're young. Everything looks really, really promising in their life on the outside. But on the inside, maybe their marriage is dysfunctional. Maybe there are secrets or betrayal that is in their marriage behind those closed doors where you would never know about it. Maybe there's a lack of trust in their marriage, or maybe they have financial problems or they're battling addictions. So on the outside, they look perfectly fine and functional, but on the inside of their marriage, it's a big mess. So on the outside, they're able to present like everything is great, everything is fine. That's what a person meeting them would kind of assume. But in order to restore the function in their marriage, they've got to deal with the dysfunction in their marriage. And anyone who's walked through any kind of healing knows that that's going to look messy. And so maybe you're going to see the wife crying because she's working through the hard things in her marriage. Or maybe you're going to see the husband on his knees at church. Maybe you're going to walk past them and they're not going to say hello to you one day because they're working through their own dysfunction. And in the midst of it, in the mess of it, it's going to look messier than it did when you first met them and everything looked fine, but everything was terrible. So, but as they begin to walk through that healing process, things are going to start to come back together. Things are going to become more organized. And to bring it back to my original example, that's what's happened in my life. So there was a few days where our home was kind of just disrupted while we were dealing with this movement, this reorganization. But as things have settled down, things are much more functional and things are much better. So I'm here to tell you that when these moments come around, when you find the dysfunction in your life and you realize, okay, this thing is happening every single day, I'm making it work, I'm working around this problem, this deep-rooted problem in my life, and I need to deal with it. Ladies, I tried to do this on my own, in my own personal life forever. I tried to walk through deep rooted dysfunction in my own life, and I tried to find a way to live with it my whole life. And the only thing that ever really changed anything was giving it to God and dealing with it. So I could have put band-aids over the top of it. I could have closed the door on my mess. But what it really took was me choosing to walk through the mess of my life and deal with it with Jesus Christ. So you have to dig into these problems. You have to be willing for it not to look beautiful. And you have to trust in God and solid guidance in your life to be able to make it through. And if it looks a little bit messy in your life, don't judge yourself. Just keep moving forward. And if you see somebody who's working through something hard and they're struggling, and maybe their struggle doesn't look like what you thought it would look like, I'm asking you, ladies, not to judge them either. Trust the process. Help them to continue to move forward in it. It will get better if you can keep going. So if you're in this situation, I ask you to reach out to a sister, reach out to a friend, reach out to a pastor. Say, I have this dysfunction in my life and I'm no longer willing to deal with it every day. And I need your help. And I need you to keep me on track. And when it's a mess, I need you to remind me that we're cleaning it up and we're fixing it. And at the end of it, it's going to look so much better. Do not be afraid to move some things around in your life, to reorganize, to declutter, and to throw some things away that are no longer serving you. You can make the mess because it can be cleaned up, and it will be so much better at the end. We have the Most High, King of Kings, on our side, the most professional organizer that you could ever imagine. He is with us and he's going to go before us. And if we put our faith in him and if we lean on him to help us, he is going to help us eradicate all of that dysfunction from our life and to reorganize everything for the path that he has set out for us for his glory. So that's what I have for you tonight, ladies. I hope that what I had to say made sense. It made sense to me before I started talking about it. So I just love you all so much. I hope that you guys have a really good rest of your night, and I will see you the next time. Bye.